Good morning. Before we get started, one thing that I'm gonna need is a scribe, minute taker. Do we have anyone who can take minutes for us? Perfect, thank you. And I will be monitoring Jabber. I'm gonna start in 1 minute. Okay, this is Lime. Welcome, Thursday. One more day for IETF. I'm Carlos Pignataro. Ron cannot be here. He has a personal commitment. So I'm going to be playing Carlos and Ron today. The note well, please note well, please read this. This essentially states that anything we say on a microphone or send to the mailing list any contribution of text to a draft or comments on the mic are IETF contributions, and therefore they're subject to the IETF IPR rules. You can see the RFCs that you can read if you want to have more the complete picture, the whole details about this, but know well. Our charter mailing list, you all know this. We have a scribe. Thank you. I will be monitoring Jabber here, and we also have one remote participant, Deepak. We have a very focused agenda, fairly light agenda. I will start with a quick summary of the working group status. And we have two main presentations, which are essentially the two key deliverables that the working group is working on. First, we're going to talk about the connection-oriented model. And if you all remember, the connection-oriented model went through working group last call. Many of the comments and correction fixes that were sent to the list were incorporated into a new version. I think the editors are still working on incorporating edits. So we're going to hear an update. The goal here is to understand from the connection-oriented model what's needed to actually take it to working group last call. And, getting also a bit of guidance from Benoit, that's also a good time to engage the young doctors for the connection-oriented model. The second topic is about the connectionless. We have a presentation from Chin, who's going to be presented on behalf of the team, Deepak and Chin. This document, even though we worked on it during a full interim and a couple of IETF, this is still an individual contribution, is Draft Kumar. So the goal here is to understand where we are in terms of actually formally adopting this work. Even though we work on it as a working group, is still an individual contribution. The goal would be to understand what's the gap between, what's out there and what's needed. The draft was also, fairly heavily commented on the list as well. So we're going to take a quick poll for adoption following, which will be followed on the list. Quick update on the Lime documents. That's a great script, by the way. WG status, working group status, and the working group name. We can see the updating documents, the new documents, updating working group documents, new documents that have Lime in the title, updated internet draft, and new documents. And again, the focus for us is still going to be the two main deliverables, which are the models. And just a quick preview before we call the first presentation, that we're also going to be talking about our wiki. I'm going to flash this for a second, and I'm going to come back to it later. I want to remind us all that success for this group is that these models that we define are used by various protocols. So we're going to potentially try to understand where we are in terms of applicability and usability of these models. And that's, after we wrap the two presentations. So with that, the first presenter on connection-oriented, Michael. Here you go, Michael.
Oh, thank you.
Okay, hello everyone. My name is Michael Wang from Huawei. Today I want to talk about the connection-oriented OEM Young module update. Since the last IETF meeting, we have do a lot of work to push this CO module forward, and we have two inter-meeting. On the inter-meeting, we take the other session. Carlos and Robonica and Greg help us to, we work together, help us to review the document line by line, and we also received a lot of valuable comments and suggestion. According to this suggestion and some discussion on email list, we update the connection-oriented OEM Young module 4 times, especially in the working group last couple weeks. We also received a lot of valuable comments. Therefore, to address these comments, we prepared the 07 version. And in next several pages, I will introduce these updated details. Another job is we align with the technology-specific OEM Young module. For example, Trio and MPLS-TP. For Trio, it's okay. The Trio is based on the LAN connection-oriented OEM Young module, and it already adopted by Trio working group. For MPLS-TP, we discuss with their authors and in the inter-meeting and the offline discussion. We have incorporating a lot of comments and requirement in the 07 version. Another thing is we update the applicability wiki page, and you can check this wiki page to check the LAMP applicability list and its standards. Okay, from this page, I will introduce the updated details from the Buenos Aires meeting. First, we optimize the terminology section. We annotate the map and MIP term with different standards, documents, abbreviation. For example, for MEP, in ITOT and MPLS-TP, it means maintenance entity group endpoint. So in this version, we add this term into the terminology section, and we also add MEG term into this version. Therefore, it can meet the MPLS-TP requirement. We also update the text description to make this term consistent and the expression more briefly and accurate. In the module, we first update the contact information statement based on the Young guideline RFC, because in the Young guideline RFC, the contact information should contain the working group information, chairs information, and editors information. So in this version, we rewrite the contact statement to satisfy this requirement. And in the module, we also add 2 features, one for continuity check RPC, one for trace route RPC. We also, in the configuration blocks, we also remove and map direction from the base model, since it's a technology specific attribute. Okay, we also optimize some identity blocks, especially in the type, especially in the default types. We add lots of continuities identity and correct some spelling error, and this makes the term consistent. And we also add some description in some identity to help the reader understand what this identity really means and how to use this identity. And in the type definition blocks, we modify the error message to defect message to make this term consistent and accurate. Okay. In the configuration block, we modify the MP address to MEP address since the first term is some technology specific, so we modify it to the MEP address. And we also add MEJ ID grouping and to meet the MPLS TP's requirement. Another change we add MAID choice, which contain two cases, one for MAID and another for MEJID. Therefore, the module user can choose a proper leave to to augment their technology-specific array module. Right?
Is it okay?
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Greg Mirsky, Ericsson. Why would we have a different grouping for MEG-ID and MAID? Because if we look at philosophy of or transition from CFM to 1731, and MPLS-TP does follow their philosophy of 1731, that MEG-ID is just a different type of MA-ID and a short MA name. So probably it could be the same, just a different type, so which will help us to multiplex and interpret properly the format.
Okay.
It's again, it's just a thought.
Okay.
Thank you.
Here we just add this choice case since if you it can provide some solution or optional you can choose if you want to follow the MPLS TP's terminology, you can define the name format or MA format to MPLS TP or ITUT. Therefore, you can choose this MEG-ID. But if you want to satisfy the trios requirement, you can you can set the MA name to MA name or MID name to the trios type. Yeah.
But again, if that's the case, if you want to keep MPLS-TP as a separate technology, we already have a draft for MPLS-TP OEM. Should it be then just a very simple augmentation? So not to duplicate MPLS-TP constructs, but just an augment MPLS-TP OEM Yang model, which already exists. If interested, so we can work together, because we talked with Vera Zheng recently, and I'll be taking more active role of finalizing this work. So I would actually, that was I was suggesting, look at this document and see how it can be augmented. Then in Lime model, there is no need to replicate MPLS-TP OEM constructs, but just an augment existing model.
Okay, I know, but okay, we can chat later.
Before that, Chin, just one quick question to fully understand. Vera, Greg, are you saying that the MPLS-TP draft and Yang module is referencing and using this, or no?
No, I suggest vice versa, that this references the MPLS-TP OEM Yang model and uses it.
How?
Because otherwise, why there is a need to replicate the MPLS-TP specific constructs if they are already being used in MPLS-TP Yang model, OEM, MPLS-TP OEM Yang model?
Well, I mean, I think the argument is the other way around, in the sense that various consumers can actually use the generalizations that exist in this document, right? No,
but this is
not the connectionless document referencing, a number of technology-specific ones, but rather the MPLS-TP one needs to be, constructed and adopted such that it references and uses this.
But my concern is that this document goes into specific of MPLS-TP. Okay, so it uses MPLS-TP specific constructs rather than using some opaque identifiers. Then can be mapped into technology. You see what happens? So basically, it provides the construct which are technology specific, whether it's a trill or MPLS-TP.
Right, but in this case, and I don't disagree, right? But in that case, if this provides, if this document provides a non-technology specific one, MPLS-TP needs to still augment and reference this and not the other way around.
Okay, that's what I propose. Let's look at where this non-specific ends and where specifics begin. So the specifics contained in MPLS-TP Yang data model, and then can be augmented from MPLS-TP data model.
Because so let's make it a specific action.
Yeah, because this to me looks like technology specific, which does not belong in the common.
I don't disagree. So let's make it a specific action of you, Greg, Vero, and Michael to work together, sort that out,
Yeah.
get the technology specifics out of here.
Excellent.
Yeah, we also agree. Okay, Rashad?
Rashad Rahman, Cisco. Greg, your comment applies to not just MPLS-TP, but also MPLS-T. I would assume I was discussing with Michael about this morning, right? It's a general.
Yes, you can extend that to them.
Okay.
Yes. But I don't work on these documents, so I can't offer my help there.
Well, just to clarify, and we all as a working group work on this document.
Okay.
Thank you.
We continue. Okay, in the MA list, we in 07-8 CC can enable leave to indicate whether the practice continuity check is supported, and in the map list and the session list, we remove the connectivity context attribute, since this attribute already defined in the MA list, and the map and the session can inherit this attribute. Therefore, remove this attribute can make the module more briefly and avoid some confuse. For example, if we have two maps in one MA list but have different connectivity context, it not make sense. The same reason also push us to remove the source address from the session list, because session list is under the MEP list, so it can inherit the MEP's address as is a source address, so we remove this attribute. Okay, another change in the configuration blocks is we remove the transmit interval and the TTL interval, TTL attribute, but we retain them in the RPC blocks, just change the transmit interval to interval in the connectivity verification and traceroute RPCs. Okay, in this list version, we also add a new notification. It's named default cleared notification, since the notification is not only sent on the is sent when the defects are cleared, and so in this version it is this notification, and in RPC blocks we modify the MA's name string type and the MD name string type to leaf reference. Therefore, it can point to the corresponding configuration leaves. Okay, this is about the modules update, and we also optimize the reference section. We add transmit, we add MPLS TPU's young module as an inform reference, and we also optimize base module and base mode and applicability section to make this describe more clearly and accurate. We also add the last thing is we add some ID needs. Though we have do a lot of update. There still have some question remaining. For example, how to define the MIP list. If you want to define the MIP list, at least it contained two attributes. One is address, another is level. And in previous version, our MIP list only have one leaf is interface. So it need to update. Another thing is we need to make clear: do we really need to explicit configuration this MIP list? Because in some technology, this MIP list is automatically created. It's not we need explicit configuration. So define the MIP list may be some technology specific. So to address this problem, we have two solutions. The first solution is we can just remove this MIP list from our base module, and the module user can add it according to his requirement. Another choice is we can add a feature to indicate whether this MIP list is need implicit configuration, and therefore the model user can choose to configuration it or not. Okay, next up, I'd like to we will prepare another version to fix this remaining question and requires a working group last call. Thank you.
I have a comment, but let's hear from Benoit first.
Benoit Claes. So I'm wondering, because I was checking a draft right now, how would you work with the topology? So we've got an ITRS, a couple of topology drafts, a generic one, an L2 one, an L3 one, because in the end, you want to have like OEM between two endpoints, right? Now, I was checking in the topology draft, there is notion of node ID, right? So at some point in time, and it's a valid point for both drafts, not especially this one. How do we relate to a definition of a node ID, which is, or an endpoint, which is in the topology?
Benoit, I think you talk about is a connectionless OML module. This is a connector-oriented OML module.
I'm talking about both of them, as I mentioned.
In this we use MEF structure to provide this from the from the domain to the session, this structure so you can reuse in some technology-oriented technology, connection-oriented technologies such as Trio and PLSTP. But for the connectless OML model, if we want to build the test point relationship, we have to consider how to build this, how to build this relationship. And we found, okay, there is some in ITRS working group is have a topology module, and we can use this topology model to build to define this connectless OEM module. Since we can see this connectless OEM module is some kind of OEM topology. Yeah, and we also augment the node ID with test point location, and test point location is used such as test point address and another ID as a key point.
Okay, thank you. Maybe I should have asked this more for the connectionless.
Okay. Right. Okay, thank you.
In the spirit of being agile and dynamic, there's one very concrete action regarding the addresses. A lot of people are here, so Vero, Greg, Rashad, Michael. Could I suggest that before leaving, if at all possible, do an editing session together, with the Young Open and have the discussion while we're all here? That would be like really, really, really useful.
Okay. I think it worked for me.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
And before the next presentation, the blue sheets, anyone has not signed? Thank you. And just to summarize the state for the record, for the minute, there's outstanding comments, in particular regarding the addresses, in particular regarding the topology. We need to spin a new version, and we really should take advantage of the fact that we're here. And by the way, on the topology, Alex Clem is also here in Berlin. Thank you. Okay.
Okay, good morning, everyone. My name is Chu, and I will present this topic, connectionist OEM model status update. And the draft version number, current latest number is 05. And if you, we just upload this new version in this week. So if you want to read the latest version, please download this one. And for the people listed here is the author, and we also add a new author, Shiri, and because he gave a lot of input and helped to improve this draft. Yeah. So what happened since the last IETF meeting? So actually, after last IETF meeting, we had two interim meetings, and for the connectionist OEM, we actually have a dedicated session in the second interim meeting. We have added a session to join with author and other participant, for example, Greg Ignos and some other people. We go through this whole draft and 9 by 9, page by page to do the editor, and we got a lot of comments. So we make a huge update based these comments, and later actually we received some comments from young doctor, and we think the comments are very useful. We also base these comments issues updated just in this week. And from some other comments, just some offline comments from the Rashad and Sam and some other colleague from my company. And also, I want to mention we still have a line compatibility wiki page. We waiting for the update after we progress, discuss this draft, and we can follow up. So I want to highlight the model design goal here. Actually, what we do is we actually define the base model. This framework can be used by the connectionist OEM technologies. The connectionist OEM actually we refer here, for example, BFD, MPL's OEM, RPOM, and maybe some other connectionist OEM come up. And we actually take the top-down approach instead of the bottom-up approach. We think this will allow the customer to use this model to talk with the management system. The management system can take advantage of this model to perform the ultimate the fault diagnosis and isolation. So we also have the model design detail. It's actually documented in the backup slides, and we can revisit it if needed. So what change we make since the last IETF meeting and two interim meeting? First change actually we removed the inappropriate parameter that for the tools in the base model based on second intermediate discussion, mostly from Carlos. So we think it's very makes sense. So we remove this kind of inappropriate parameter, and we also align the model description in the section 3 with the model hierarchy to make it more consistent. And this is just a cosmetic change. And we also remove the pair with the source and destination address and theory address from the IETF connection model. I just want to mention we actually broke down the this base model into two models. One actually is connectionist model, and another is actually is OM method model. We think based on top-down approach, we think it's better. We actually can have more reusable building block, and this can be reused by various different connectionist OM technologies. And for the long-lived, short-lived session issue, actually this thanks for the Carlos, and he already follow up and brought up this discussion on this. Then we have a good discussion. We narrow down. Actually, we think we should use the terminology that define the FCC 7276. That is use on demand and proactive. So we close this issue. And as I mentioned, we actually broke down one model into two models. So here is that retrieval method. We actually define it as a separate model, and also we added some common session information. Actually, this is reusing building blocks that can be applied to the BFD or some other connected OM technologies. And for the performance monitoring part, actually, this is something has already discussed many times. We think it's better to separate out, and we have several chapters to discuss this. I think it doesn't need to be covered by this connectionist OM model. And for the FEC, this as the attribute of the TP location has been removed from the connection OM model based on discussion. I think it's from Greg.
Yeah. Sorry to interrupt, Greg Mirsky. So, yes, if we then, if offers would like to have performance monitoring as a separate model, then I would suggest that this model will be characterized as a fault management model. That's first. And in that case, if the performance monitoring will be a separate model, then don't need to even mention TWAMP or WAMP, because it's a performance measurement methods protocols. Okay. So again, if you plan to have a separate model for performance monitoring, so then this model effectively is a fault management OEM.
Yeah, I agree. Actually, OM actually comprises two parts. One is for the management, the other is performance monitoring. Currently, we actually, for the performance monitoring, and I think it's some work actually covered by the RPPM, but it's more limited to the RP network, RP technology use cases. And so we take out, and but we still want to actually have more generic model. So I'm not sure we should change the name into the for the model, for the management model.
Yes, because again, I would encourage to separate, because that probably would make it easier to make this
I would argue this because this model is
otherwise if we talk about TWAMP or WAMP, we must talk about RFC 6374 MPLS loss and delay measurement.
I think actually the concept here is to try to model the existing traditional OM technology rather than actually only focus on fault management. We actually try to cover various OM protocol. So we need to have a generic name.
Okay, it is okay. It's a choice of the offers. I can only suggest. I cannot force you to do anything.
Okay. Another one is about the passive OM discussing, and I think this actually also brought up by the Carlos, and we discussed this several terminology and inactive and passive and in-band, out-band, and we better understand what this term means. And I think we think this passive OM like standardization. So we agree actually at this current stage we take this out until we can get this passive OM standardized somewhere, we can actually and put back in. But at this moment, I think it's not reasonable to cover this in this connection, this OM model. So actually, we are now actually close the passive performance method issues, and we also actually much lag behind and based on schedule. And this draft actually is good shape and stable. We think we need to request to adopt this one. Yeah, that's all.
Thank you, Jin. I have one initial question. Can you speak a little bit about the relationship between this document and other technology-specific ones? So you mentioned that you've been working with Deepak on the applicability. You've been working with Rashad on the BFD relationship. Can you?
Yeah. In the current draft, we did have a section to discuss the relationship between this model and other model. We clarify in this slide. Actually, we have some model design concept that we think this model actually serve as base model is the kind of generic framework that can be extended by the various technology-specific model. And we broke down the base model into two models. Actually, two models are still two base model. But it depends on use cases, and you can use both basic model or use one of base model. And for the applicability wiki page, and we plan to follow up and talk with Rashad and to get it solved, and we will update this wiki page based the follow up with Rashad.
And I know BFD is meeting tomorrow sometime, but Rashad as the BFD chair, and Greg, I think you're editor of the BFD Young model. Oh, perfect, excellent, even better. I know things might change. You're meeting tomorrow, but what's the status of that document within the BFD working group as far as stating the progression?
So this, Rashad Raman, Cisco, the state of the doc is, so we've made there's been changes also in the routing model regarding routing instances and all that. So there's been some churn there. The big thing remaining, in my opinion, is the whole line business. What Greg was mentioning, we just need to close, I think, for BFD, for LSP ping. So the OM technologies, but also the networking technologies in sense of this is not just, BFD is not on its own. BFD runs on MPLS, MPLS-T, MPLS-TP, multi-hop, single hop. You're aware of this, right? So, and I think that goes back to Greg's comments that you don't want to be redefining, let's say, MPLS-T, the way the tunnel is configured, the way the LSP is in operational state in multiple places. We should be reusing, augmenting, or stuff like that. So we just need a common way for everybody to do that, and I think we'll be in good shape. We're not there yet. We're closer than we were, but we're not there yet.
Yes, again, as Rashad characterized, the current version of BFD model does cover single hop, multi-hop, and in LSP. There is a micro BFD, I think it's still outstanding.
It's in there now.
Yeah, it's there. Yeah, okay. What I wanted to say is that Rashad mentioned LSP ping. So I just want to inform that work on LSP ping Yang model will be reactivated. And there will be a very brief discussion at PCE session, which will discuss common Yang models between PCE, MPLS, TS, and CCAM.
That's insightful. My view was that was a little bit stale.
Yeah, I agree with that. And based on request of MPLS workgroup chairs, the work will be restarted and activated.
Thank you. And from my side as chair had on, similar comment as we did with the connection-oriented model. We're all here in Berlin. We all have our Macs. I know time is pressing, and we're running in between dinners and meetings and old friends and stuff. But if we can find, a couple of minutes to do an real-time editing on some of that's the fastest way to make progress on these more intricated issues.
Right, I agree. So we should make earnest effort to do that. But personally, I would say that the 2 sessions that we had was, in my view, very successful. So I have to say thanks to authors, they were very considerate to the comments, and we didn't have any shortcomings on technology, so it all worked. And I think that if we cannot make everything that we want to achieve this week here, then schedule some similar sessions.
Thank you.
Sorry, Frank Brockner, Cisco. So I think the document is good to adopt, but I have one more of a kind of a structural comment. And so given that you now broke apart the data that we retrieve from how we retrieve the data, which is, I think, is a major step forward, don't you want to go and have those things sit in separate documents longer term? Because that would make it far easier for other people to say, okay, I have another method to expose the data, maybe using IPFix or something else. I have other methods to go and retrieve the data, not with an RPC method. And so that would be far easier for other people to leverage a particular document, as opposed to then you refer to something that has an overloading of RPC methods that you are clearly not interested in if you're using a different retrieval method.
As also no strong opinion on this, and I think I depend on chair to make a decision on this.
I mean, it's a working group decision. It's not my decision, but I will say, that there's advantages and disadvantages of, fragmentation. Modularity is great. Is figuring out what is the right granularity of that fragmentation. So I don't know if that's, perhaps. No, I mean, I was thinking, is that a question for young doctors? Is that a question for us independently to make a call on any guidance from other young documents in other working groups? Benoit?
Benoit Claes. So right now, these are 2 different Yang models or not? Or a single one?
Right now, actually, 2 models in the same draft. Yeah.
All right. So maybe this is a good step in the right direction, because if we need to update one module, we don't need to update, you want to update the one with an extra method, only the Yang model with an extra method, right? So from a Yang model point of view, we could do that. Now, I understand that if you want to always have BIS RFCs, then you have to update. But no strong opinion. You have a valid point. So
thank you. Now, that helps.
Do whatever it feels right.
And I think that perhaps, one thing that we can do, Frank, if I could please ask you to actually post that question on the list and perhaps try to summarize very high level pros and cons, of having the model and the RPC moving independently in 2 documents. Then we can actually see, what the working group, any preference. But modularity is good, right?
The goal is right, as Greg was mentioning earlier. We try to do something generic, and I need those data, and independently of how I get it, it's a very valid goal. So up to you. Now, different question, Chin. The one on topology. I haven't read the latest version of the document, but how do you connect the topology?
Actually, for this one, we did augment from the network topological model. So
the one from I2RS?
What?
The one from I2RS?
Yes.
Oh, because I was checking that and I was missing it. Okay, I'll double check.
Yeah. This one actually follows this to augment from the topological model defined in the I2RS, but for the connection orient, we didn't follow that concept because I think connection orient they already serve some OM. They already define some OM topology, so they have MDMA and test point, and that's why we ignore to using the topology defining the address. But for this draft, we actually try to model the test point, but we need to see how this test point to link to the topology. So that's why we augment from the topology.
I missed that because I was searching exactly for that. So thank you for this.
Yeah.
And from Jabber, Deepak is saying, as author, we're okay to break into 2 drafts. We will wait for working group decision. So that's one easy to take to the list. Any other questions, comments on this document? And thank you, Jin. I mean, hopefully, we can close on some of these, relationship with BFD, with a potentially restarting MPLS LSPP, while we're here.
Okay. Yeah, no problem.
So in the context, thank you, Jin. In the context of this document, we as a working group have been working on this for some time as a group. This document was actually the subject of a full interim meeting, a real-time editing session. And, as I mentioned at the beginning, this is still a individual document. We marked it as a candidate for adoption for a full IETF timeframe since Buenos Aires. We mark it as such. We didn't close on formally calling. And before Ron and I potentially take that question to the list, anyone has any concerns with and just to put context to the question, I think per our charter, this is a problem we need to solve. So I'm not going to ask if this is something worth working on. The question that I have is, does anyone has any concerns as this document being the base for Lime fulfilling the milestone of the connectionless model?
Greg Nersky-Erickson. I think that probably there are number of times that we talk about that relationship between their common model and specific models, would it be MPLS-TP, BFD, LSPP, is something very important open question. So I would think that once we solve it, then yes, we'll have very good basis for their working group to continue work. But I would say that we need to solve this first.
And just to understand, Greg, when you say solve it, I mean, what I heard a couple of minutes ago was that Chin mentioned that there's a fairly detailed applicability within the document itself, which speaks as to how to use BFD and LSPP with this document. I know, Reshad, from a BFD side, is a co-author on this document, and he's volunteering and a lot of time and insight in order to make that happen. What do you mean that we're not there?
Okay, I again, as a co-author of MPLS-TP, I don't think that at least there we are.
MPLS-TP for the connection.
Yes,
oriented.
Yes, but I still see that is still, there are some things that we need to discuss. Okay, the balance between common model and technology specifics, namespaces in particular. I haven't, yes, I have to admit, I haven't looked at the latest version of applicability document. I'll do that. So yeah, might be sometime, just give us some time after their meeting to read their latest versions, and then we can discuss whether this is ready for adoption.
Any other comments or thoughts? Wonderful. So the last topic that we have today is to try to do a little bit of a summary on recap, potentially take a couple of actions on this relationship between the common model and the technology specific ones. And in that context, I try to summarize, Ron and I try to summarize the status of technology-specific documents, which are being worked on various working groups. And frankly, you know, if we put a little bit of the realism glasses on, BFD, TRIL, MPLS-TP are probably the more advanced one, followed by MPLS. TWAM might not even be applicable. SFC is not even talking about it. So, you know, I think the main connection points that we're trying to sort out are on the connection-oriented model, TRIL and MPLS-TP. On the connection-less model, first priority BFD, and then LSP ping, which, you know, seems to be restarting. As a reminder, screen capture on our wiki. As another reminder, you know, we all can edit the wiki. So as we go making progress and advancement, or as we have questions, concerns, observations about any of the roles, you know, it's there for us to edit. Any questions, comments on the categorization that I did on where we are on some of these documents?
Benoit Claes, T1 is IP only, right? So connectionless.
Yes.
All right, so this one is working document, so it's also on your list of priorities.
Yes. Wonderful. Any other comments? Thank you again, Ignace, for taking notes for us. Yes.
Benoit Claes. So, Carlos, you were asking a question at the beginning about sending those to the young doctors for review, the new procedure to be proactive with the young doctors. So, what is your conclusion?
You know, thus far, I think there's enough open items in the connection-oriented model that we're not ready to you know, spend cycles on the young doctor, specifically because we need to solve the generalization of the addresses. I think that's the only main point, that the only major point with that document. I'm seriously hoping, you know, we can find, and I made myself available, you know, anytime that we can find some time while we're here to try to sort that one out. After that, you know, I need to talk to Ron, but essentially what we were thinking when we were talking before the meeting is that that's going to be good enough of a time for us to actually send it to the young doctors, and in parallel or before or after, potentially issue a working group last call on that document. Main issue is solving the address, the point that we discussed earlier.
Whenever you're ready.
Wonderful. So if there's no more comments, no more open issues, you know, we get an hour back. Anyone did not sign the blue sheet? Perfect. Thank you very much. How you doing? We can talk now because I have, yeah. Give me 2 minutes. All right, let me close on this quickly. Yeah, you know, let me prepare this for the, let me prepare the blue sheet for the next person. That's all right. Thank you, by the way, for understanding. Yeah.
So, this is really the use case we are looking at before we go in. So it should be what you want.
Yeah.
I went through this Google yesterday. And based on the same page. So what you're talking about is the fact that there are two ways.
Yeah.
And there are strict lines basically when it transitions between, say, for example, you have to the packet network. But it really translates into some.
Sure, absolutely.
So here what we talked about the end E1 really traverses like this.
Yeah.
And this is the underlay, completely underlay.
Totally. I understand clearly.
So, what transmits we have designed a new class of segments in segment routing, which basically
For the underlay,
for the underlay.
for the optical transport. Okay.
Now, the guys who know about it are these edge guys. Nobody else needs.
That's right.
And that we call them packet gateways.
I see. Okay. Yeah, they're like the tunnel endpoints of gateways or.
Exactly, right. So the way you start right now, so this is the use case, right? So you got the use case.
Yeah. Now, I understand the use case, but I don't understand how segment routing fits into it.
Oh, okay, yeah. Okay. So now here is good. So let me. So the way you do this is that normally this is your network. Now I've translated all that.
That's the physical.
Yeah, that was the two things, right? Now we're talking about the physical piece,
Yeah.
right? So you put it out, all there out. All this piece.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. So one of the things, first what happens is you announce this is limits and all that stuff. So that's
Perfect. IGP.
Now, this is a new one. The bulbs announce themselves along with transport segments. These are sort of opaque to their identity. We do not want to expose these links, other links.
So, but as far as that's concerned, that's a normal overlay layer 3 segment.
No, it is not. See, nobody knows about this, right? So if you look at the first case, or in IGP,
That's right.
nothing else.
Oh, you're saying they're announcing something from here? Oh, I see.
So
But they don't put into the IGP.
That's what we're saying. We're not going to the IGP because there are applications.
Okay.
So what we're saying, these are the ones that we now. What we want to do is to do an integration of these two layers.
Perfect.
See, that's what we're trying to get to.
Okay, I understand now. Yeah.
So that's what now as it is in our okay. So let me use this one. So you've got these guys here as your different plane. That's here's the optical one, optical two, optical three, optical four.
Yes.
Right. Now what you do to the back, we see that these guys is specified when anywhere. That's the extension. These have to be announced with characteristics, with specific optical characteristics.
That's fine, but they get announced to the PCE somehow.
That's the thing that we're talking about. We're basically saying we announced these.
Oh, perfect.
But
Perfect.
now Fox can program the forwarding plane, and then PC communicates to people to label stack includes this.
Yeah.
So now I can toggle all these things.
Understand.
And now I have the picture of
Well, the PCE has a full picture.
PC. Yeah. You have to give that picture. Otherwise, now what I do, there's a PC.
So the PC is basically setting up the right segments in the optical and tunneling the right, like using those as adjacencies.
Exactly. So now you're hitting it right. That's it. Semantics can be only understood by transfer circles are not for any consumption.
Perfect.
That complicates the different royalties, different specific needs, and maybe also reverse different optical domains.
Yeah.
So now PC is the guy, the overall guy.
Understand.
This plane and this plane right now. PLS, TP, and all that stuff.
Right.
This is MPLS and the usual stuff.
I understand perfectly.
Now I'm making it.
Yeah. Okay, so let's get to OEM.
So now the OEM piece, right?
By the way, just one comment before this, Sancho, is that I don't think you need requirements to, you don't need to work on a document setting up the requirements.
No problem.
But let's get that.
I'll look for you for moving forward. No issues. But I want to show you the use cases, specific use cases, and then you tell me where.
Okay.
So this is just background what I just said.
Easy. Yeah.
Got it, right? So now, transfer segment is to provide mechanism to observe liveness and service validation across the domain as seen by the form.
Okay.
So that's the goal. So use cases and see. So this is integrated into. So there are two types of devices today. One device that actually can do both packet and optical.
Yes.
The other ones are packet only.
That's fine. So you have the POG in one device or in two devices?
But the catch is, here you have to match the optical OEM to the transfer. Right. That's the difference.
I understand.
Then the other case is that, Jeff was also co-authored this one. He said to take it out.
Censura, you mean?
But I still think that there are still use cases, so I'm started by these have to be vibrations. The transfer, in this case, the transfer has to be shared. So you have to go away. And then the OEM skills of the shared transfer may differ between box and the impact. So, for example, if this guy goes down, then you have to clear down the skill. Then you have to at least for this floor. You have to direct it all here, but this guy doesn't have any.
So that's a great use for PhD.
Exactly. So these are the kinds of things that we're talking about here, right?
Yeah.
So in this case, for example, you have Y cable, right? You have Y cable, then what you do is you have transfer cables are different. What you need to do is that you have to call this L1. This is called then. Choose an active. Say this is that. Choose both of them are there. The PC has to be determination because PC is establishing the label. Right? So now,
How fast can the PC switch over? Like if you have a white cable situation?
so what happens is
Because the switchover is not
it's
local.
not local. Yeah.
Like I always, when I used to work with white cables, you was always in between two line cards,
Yes.
which are adjacent, right?
Yes.
But here you're talking about potentially two devices.
Yeah, so that's why I'm asking. these use cases to discuss with other big corporates. So I'm saying I'm bringing it up.
Perfect, very interesting, that's what the difference,
That
the
is,
difference.
that is the idea, right? Yeah, so if it is different than what you think about, right? So that's what I was trying to get at. So then I came up with these insights. So then I came up saying that, hey, all I need is really a global check.
Yeah.
On demand, blah, 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 all these things.
I mean, but hold on, because this is the part that you need this. You don't need a big code to describe just now.
So how do I validate this? How do I,
Or if you have a community thread running all the time.
if I don't, if I have to do on demand.
Right, but I mean, the program space
These are
that you described is the switchover. Right, for that you don't need this.
Yes, you know, that's what.
Right, so that's my comment.
You're right.
Don't necessarily work on these requirements because this, like number one, doesn't match this. You know, maybe some other requirement that you have in your mind, right, like operational considerations of the whole thing. You need to do like with electricity, you're gonna have to do a step change.
Yeah, okay, so here's the other thing. So when I'm looking at this. When I use that, more transport back.
Yeah.
Transport, does it go should allow path verification system. It may be designed to check for liveness, using this to announce it. So what you want to do is that
So you wanna, when it comes up, you wanna run a ping,
run a ping, all good, yes.
and then you, okay.
That's.
Right, but that's requirement 12, right? In one, you're saying I need LSP things.
Yes, okay.
Right.
Okay, I can move it up.
I don't think you need requirements at all. It's not like you can move it up.
Okay, no, tell me what you want, how I okay.
So let me ask you something, right? Do you need any changes in the program?
Where you are in the cell process.
Do you need changes in LSP? Which, so in LSP, you probably need a big change or an effect or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why I brought this. One is
Right, that's what I'm saying, you need a effect change.
Yeah, that's it. One is vibration, vibration. Essentially, done using this one. Very typical. So that is, eventually we can use this one, the draft.
Yeah, but I don't think, let me ask you something. If you authorize a red or the other one.
I would say it's other way around.
But is that a direction of corral here?
Potentially corrupt, yes. Some people don't, but most of the time.
Why would you need? What do you need this? It is already corralled.
So the way the box are, box seals is all, those are actually, this box does not know those. See, in the sense like this, so the
Perfect.
correlation is happening.
That's right, exactly.
So that's
For the PCE, no.
PC, of course.
But this guy knows that.
He doesn't know what is right.
I